Hello. So this is just a quick video, hopefully, of me telling you how I liked my palette of the week this week. Before we get into that, let me tell you what's on my face. I've got the Huda Beauty Stick Foundation in the color Coffee Bean or 530R. I used my Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer in Amande. I set my concealer with the Too Faced Peach Perfect in Caramelized Peach. I also went over that with my Gucci Pressed Powder Foundation just for a little bit of setting. And I also used the Patrick Ta Blush Duo in Oh She's Different. I feel like that's how you have to say it. And here is the color here. I used both the cream and the powder. And on my lips, I've got this Pat McGrath lip gloss in Prima Donna. On the eyes, I have the Camel palette from Natasha Denona. I also have lashes on from Bonsu Beauty, which is Hema Bonsu's lash brand. And her eye looks are just like stopping traffic, okay? Her looks are amazing. So when I saw that she had lashes, I was like, let me get on that. So it comes with 4 pairs of lashes. Obviously there are 3 here because there is a pair on my eyes. This is the Natural Vibes palette, or I'm sorry, this is the Natural Vibes lashes. Wow, I'm not even having juice. This is the Natural Vibes lashes. I really like them, so I think I'm going to pick up some of the more dramatic ones as well. I believe that's it. So let's get into the palette. So this week I used the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This is a palette that a lot of people like or a lot of people can't stand. And I think the reason for that mainly is usually because Natasha Denona uses various formulas or formulations in her shadows. So in her palettes, you are probably going to get a variety of formulas. So if a palette has more or less of one formula over the other, then that might really influence whether or not you like it. So for the Metropolis palette, it comes in this really like green-ish, leathery looking thing cover. And once you open it, there is a mirror. And then also there is this sort of plastic overlay that has the names of the shadows. And then next to the shadow number, because there are numbers as well, there is an initial indicating what type of formula that shadow is. And then here are the 28 shades. So I will pop up some looks that I did over the past week. I'm pretty sure that I used a majority of the palette. I know that I had a green look. I know I had a blue look. I also had like a rust kind of sienna look going on. And then there was probably something else that I don't remember. So in this palette, like I was mentioning, there are various formulas. What I did not know with my first Natasha Denona purchase was that there were different formulas. I was just like, oh, that's pretty. I want it. Get in my bag. I bought it. I didn't steal it. Okay. And so once I started using the palette, I can't even remember which one it was. But once I started using it, I was realizing, oh, there's some like different formulas here. And so duh, do your research, girl. And so I had to then sort of switch up how I was applying some of the shades. Now, for the metallics, I think you can go in with a dense brush or you can go in with your finger, which is probably going to be the best. I think it gives a bit more impact on the eyes. And the metallic formula is the one that is the most in this palette. So there are 12 metallic shades. So if you're not a fan of the metallics, then you're not going to like this as much just because it's the majority of the palette. First row metallics are Rust, Shield, and Mace. Second row are Fuse, Penny, Aqueous, and Queen. Third row are Noble, Imperia, Crest, and the fourth row is Jubilee and Claret. So that makes up 12 shades in the palette. And then the formula that is the second most common in this palette is the cream to powder. And I think the cream to powder formula is the one that trips people up quite a bit, mainly because dependent upon what you use to put it on, you're going to get like a different look. If you're trying to use a very fluffy brush, maybe something like this, then this is a Lunar Beauty brush, Manny MUA's brand. If you are trying to use a fluffy brush with the cream to powder, it's probably not going to work. So let me see if I can kind of show an example. So one of the cream to powders is Antique, which is this brownish color here. So if I were to dip in with a brush and then try to put it on, don't worry about that right there. You can see that there's like not much coming out, right? Or off or whatever. But if I use my finger and try to put it on, there's a huge difference. So what I suggest is if you're using the cream to powder, do not use a brush like this. This is going to be better for something else. Use a finger or use like a very dense brush. Okay, I'm not gonna go through my brushes because I don't want to make them all dirty, okay? So as I said, there are 12 metallics and then there are 10 cream to powders. So if you don't like those formulas, then you're probably not going to like the palette as much. Cream to powders are Troop and Stain, Lethal and Chrism, Royal, Enigma, Pure, Azoic, Symbol, Antique. So as you can see, there are some colors that can kind of dupe each other, like these two here. And I'm not quite sure that you would need both of these either. Excuse me, I'm just like spitting. And then you've got all these golds. So I definitely feel like the palette does sort of dupe itself in like within the palette. So there's that. And the one that, oh, don't drop. Sorry, I almost dropped my juice. Now, if you are someone who really likes mattes, there are only 3 mattes in this palette. So this might not be the palette for you. Or you will have to bring in another palette if you're wanting to use some mattes, because the mattes in here are also a little lighter. There's one kind of deeper matte, and the 3 creamy mattes in the palette are Ripe, which is the deepest creamy matte, Rope, and Rhizome here. So especially these two, they're pretty light. So you're just going to probably need another palette if you want to use some more mattes. For me, I actually use the cream to powders to deepen up colors, so I'm kind of fine with it. And the last 2 formulas are the Duochrome and the Chroma Crystals. The Duochrome in the palette is Orium, and the Chroma Crystals are Blaze and Helena uses. So that is the palette. I like the palette. I think that the palette, if you like metallics and cream to powders, this is gonna be your jam, okay? You're gonna be all over it. If you like mattes and like the duochromes, that's like 4 shades. So that's probably not, I mean, you know what, spend your money how you want to, but I don't know that you're going to like the majority of the palette because you would only like 4 or 5 shades. So I like it. I liked using it. This is not one of my favorite palettes. I know some people are like, oh my God, that is my favorite. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm glad I have it. Especially, I think the metallics are so pretty and the chroma crystals are so pretty. I think because a lot of it, like, it dupes itself. How is that even possible? Like, some of the dupes are different formulas, but it's like these golds in here, They look the same. Okay, so this gold, this gold, this gold, this gold. There's a little bit of difference on my eye with this one because it's a bit brighter and lighter and yellower. They are just so close. They're like cousins, right? And I don't know if I want cousins in a palette. Not all the cousins. Maybe like, you know, like a cousin once removed or so, because they're just really, really close. And I think this palette could have been pared down from 28 to maybe one of her 15 pans or whatever. Who am I though? Who am I? Like, Natasha, do you, girl. Put how many shades you want to in this palette. You know people gonna buy it anyway. All right, I think that's it. Rosé is staring at me as if she doesn't eat like really good food all the time. And so I should probably go feed her, give her a treat or something. But hope this was helpful, and we'll see what I pick next week. See you soon.